The safe operation of an industrial truck is no accident. The forklift truck is a powerful machine that can lift heavy loads and move them easily. It can be a very useful and efficient piece of equipment, but operating a lift truck without proper training can cause accidents and could result in injury to you, to others, as well as damage to product and equipment. During this presentation, we will demonstrate the correct use of the Operator Daily Checklist to be sure your truck is ready and safe to operate. Proper travel procedures, such as maneuvering or traveling with a load and working around pedestrians. How to safely store and retrieve loads with your lift truck and the factors that affect the stability of your truck. What to do on loading docks and in tractor trailers. Points to remember about operating a lift truck on a ramp. And finally, how to safely remove, check, and charge your truck's battery. If you follow these safety guidelines and use your common sense and good judgment, you will go a long way towards preventing accidents on the job. Do not operate a truck unless you have been trained and authorized to do so. Read and follow all warnings and instructions found in the Owner-Operator Manual and the warning decals that come with your truck. Operate a truck only after you have checked all of its systems. Safety guards and covers must be in place, and safety interlock switches must be in operation. If any part of the truck is not working properly, report it to the appropriate person and be sure repairs are made before you operate the truck. Let's look at what's required to operate your lift truck safely and see how safety plays an important role in your job. Always start your shift by inspecting the truck. Use the operator's daily checklist to make sure that everything is working correctly. The checklist helps you pinpoint any maintenance or safety problems which may have occurred during a previous shift. Remember to wear the required safety equipment like safety glasses, safety shoes, or a hard hat. If your truck is equipped with a safety harness, make sure it's in good condition and wear it. Check with your supervisor or safety director for your company's requirements. The daily inspection includes both visual and operational checks. Start your visual inspection by looking at your truck with the key switch turned off. Check the tires. Make sure there's no gouging or chunking. Inspect the lift system for damage to chains and hoses and for leaks in the system. Hydraulic oil on the floor beneath your truck could create a serious hazard. Look at the fork carriage for any physical damage. Check the forks to see if they are positioned properly and locked in place. Test all of the truck's controls, like the directional speed control and lift and lower. Be sure they move freely and return to neutral when they are released. Look at all the guards and covers to be sure they are properly installed. Inspect the overhead guard for any damage like cracks or loose bolts. Test the battery gates to make sure they are securely in place. Be sure a battery of the correct size and weight has been installed for your truck. The wrong battery will affect truck operation and stability. Look at the battery connectors and cables to see if they are cracked or broken. Damaged connectors or cables could cause arcing and should be replaced. Next, do the operational checks with the key switch on and the dead man pedal depressed. Check the directional speed control for smooth control of truck speed and direction. Check the plugging function. Move the control handle through neutral to the opposite direction of travel. The truck should come to a stop and reverse direction smoothly. Make sure the steering works smoothly too, without binding or excessive play. Test the brakes. The truck should stop quickly if the brakes are properly adjusted. And operate all of the load handling functions such as lift and lower, reach, side shift, and tilt to make sure they operate smoothly without hang-ups or binding. Depress the emergency disconnect and check that power is disconnected from the truck. Different trucks will have different types of emergency disconnects. Depress the horn button to see if the horn is working properly. Some trucks are equipped with warning or working lights. Test them to be sure they are working properly. Safety decals should be clean and easy to read. All Raymond vehicles come with an owner-operator manual for quick reference on the operation of the truck. Review it whenever you have a question about your truck. If that manual is missing, you can get a replacement from any Raymond dealer. If your truck passed the daily inspection, it's now ready to operate. Remember, once again, if any part of the truck is not working properly during the daily check, report it to the appropriate person and be sure repairs are made before you operate the truck. A forklift truck is a specialized piece of equipment designed for a specific type of work. To drive a truck safely, you should first learn a few rules about truck travel. Every truck has a designated operating position. To use your truck safely, you must operate it from this position. Never put any part of your body outside the confines of the truck or between the uprights of the mast. It is not unusual to see people walking in the warehouse. Pedestrians have the right of way in most warehouses. Always stop and sound your horn at blind corners and intersections to alert anyone passing by. Don't allow any passengers on your truck. Ignoring this rule can have serious results. For safe travel, keep your forks about 6 inches off the floor, with a load or empty. If you find debris in your path, stop and remove it. It could affect the stability of your truck or damage the equipment. Floor conditions can affect the operation and stability of your truck. Travel at reduced speeds and turn slowly on uneven, rough, or wet floors. Look behind when you are backing up, especially in tight places like narrow aisles or tractor trailers. Never drive directly toward anyone, especially if they are standing in front of a solid object like a column or a wall. Plugging is the recommended way to change travel direction during normal operation. You can easily maneuver the truck in either direction. Just move the directional speed control handle through neutral to the opposite direction of travel. The vehicle will slow down to a smooth stop and begin traveling in the opposite direction. Plugging can also be used to bring the truck to a smooth, controlled stop. Use plugging to slow down and then slowly release the deadman to stop. Braking is the recommended method of stopping the vehicle quickly, especially in an emergency. If there is an emergency situation, step off the deadman pedal quickly. This will fully apply the brakes to stop the vehicle in the shortest possible distance. Stay within the confines of the operator's compartment. Whether plugging or braking, the operator's compartment provides protection in the unlikely event of a collision. It's much safer to remain in the truck than to jump off and get out of the way. If you are on an operator-up truck like an order picker or a swing reach, you are safer in the truck than if you try to remove the safety belt or harness and attempt to get off, especially when the truck is elevated. Whenever you leave the truck unattended, always fully lower the forks, set the parking brake, turn the key switch off, and remove the key. Removing the key helps prevent unauthorized use. On most Raymond trucks, the deadman pedal also works as a parking brake. However, some truck models have a parking brake lever. It's important to understand proper load handling practices to safely store and retrieve loads with your truck. Whenever a truck is improperly loaded, there is a chance of the truck tipping or the load falling off the truck. To support a load correctly, it's important to understand the concept of center of gravity. Think of these boxes as a typical load. The weight of the load is concentrated at this point. This is called the center of gravity. To balance the load, you must support it directly under the center of gravity. On an even load, like this, the center of gravity is near the exact center. On an uneven load, the center of gravity is moved because the load is heavier towards the front. This places the center of gravity farther away from the truck and could cause the truck to become unstable. Trucks also need to have stability from side to side. If the center of gravity is moved too far to one side, the truck could tip over. Remember, lifting loads that are evenly distributed on the forks will help to keep the truck stable. Every object has a center of gravity: the load, the truck, and even the operator. Together, they act as one unit with a combined center of gravity. How can the combined center of gravity move? There are many ways. Whenever the load is moved, the combined center of gravity moves too. Raising the load shifts the center of gravity up. Tilting the load will move the center of gravity backward or forward. Side shift will also move the center of gravity to one side of the truck. Extending and retracting the forks will move the combined center of gravity forward or back in relation to the center of the truck. The use of load handling attachments will also change the combined center of gravity. Take extra care when operating a truck equipped with attachments. Running over a bump will tilt the truck slightly and shift the center of gravity to one side. If the load is low, the bump will only cause a slight shift. The truck is less stable when the load is elevated. Even a small bump can cause a big shift in the center of gravity. A shift such as this could move the center of gravity far enough to tip the truck over. The load should always be carried as low as possible to help prevent the truck from tipping. Traveling with a load exposes the center of gravity to all forces that affect a moving vehicle. Centrifugal force comes into play whenever the truck is turned off a straight-ahead path, especially when turning a corner. Centrifugal force will tend to pull the center of gravity to the outside of a turn. The faster and sharper you turn, the stronger the force. Centrifugal force can cause you to lose a load or tip the truck. Slow down when starting a turn and speed up gradually at the end of a turn. Inertia is another force that can shift the center of gravity. When you stop the truck abruptly, inertia will tend to pull the center of gravity forward. Inertia tends to pull the center of gravity back if you start or speed up quickly. Avoid quick starts and stop only as quickly as conditions require. Raymond trucks are usually designed to handle rated capacity loads from 2,000 to 10,000 pounds. The rated capacity of a truck is a measure of the maximum weight the truck can safely lift to a given height and the location of the load center for the load being handled. The horizontal load center is the distance between the load center of gravity and the face of the forks. The vertical load center is the distance between the load center of gravity and the blade of the forks. Since the typical pallet is 48 inches long, an evenly distributed load that's stacked 48 inches high and placed snugly against the face of the forks will have a load center of 24 inches. The center of gravity of the load is 24 inches from both the face and blade of the forks. Changing the load center will affect the rated capacity of the truck. As the load center of your load increases, the rated capacity of your truck, or the amount of weight you can safely lift, decreases. For example, if your truck is rated at a maximum capacity of 4,000 pounds with a 24-inch load center, and you want to use the same truck to pick up a load with a load center of 36 inches, then the maximum load weight that could be safely handled would be reduced from 4,000 to 2,600 pounds. Always remember to handle loads within the rated capacity and load centers of your truck. Exceeding the rated capacity could seriously affect the stability of the truck. Rated capacity and load center information is found on the truck's specification plate. The plate is in or near the operator's compartment. Only the vehicle manufacturer is authorized to change vehicle specifications under OSHA regulation. Loading docks have their own special safety rules. The trailer being loaded should be properly aligned, the brakes securely set, and the wheels chalked. Make sure adjustable ramps or dock boards are positioned properly and securely. Don't forget to inspect the floor of the trailer before entering with your truck. The trailer floor should be sound and able to support the weight of a loaded vehicle. Make sure there is enough clearance for the truck's mast height to allow operation in the trailer. The potential for tip-over or off-dock accident always exists when working in a dock area. If your truck were about to overturn or go off a dock, the safest action is to quickly step off and away from the truck and onto the dock. Taking this action will minimize your chance of serious injury. Be aware that too much speed on rough, wet, or slippery loading dock surfaces can also cause accidents and have serious results. Some industrial lift trucks can be operated on a ramp. The following safety rules apply to ramp operation. Before traveling on a ramp, tilt the forks fully upward if your truck is equipped with fork tilt, and raise the load only high enough to clear the ramp surface. Always drive a loaded truck up the ramp with the load in front and down the ramp with the load trailing. Unloaded trucks should be operated on a ramp with the forks downgrade and at a reduced speed. Since turning shifts the center of gravity, you should never try to turn on a ramp. Finally, never park a truck on a ramp. The truck could roll and cause an accident. This accident may not have happened if the operator had checked the owner-operator manual for the recommended guidelines for safe operation on ramps. Let's take a few minutes to review the lift truck operation and safety concepts covered in the program. Always start your shift by inspecting the truck with the operator daily checklist. Perform the visual checks with the key switch turned off. Do the operational checks with the key switch on and the dead man pedal depressed. Remember, if any part of the truck is not working properly during the daily check, report it to the appropriate person and assure that repairs have been made before you operate the truck. When you are traveling, always operate the truck from the designated operating position. Look for pedestrians at all times. Never allow passengers to ride on the truck. Make sure you sound the horn at cross aisles, intersections, and whenever your view is blocked. Always watch out for pedestrians when backing up. Never drive toward anyone, especially if they are standing in front of a solid object. In a collision type of accident, you should stay in the confines of the truck. You have the best protection there. Remember to lower your forks to about 6 inches from the floor, whether loaded or unloaded, before traveling. Use braking to stop the truck quickly, especially in an emergency, and use plugging to maneuver the truck and stop during normal operation. When you park the truck, lower the forks completely, set the parking brake, turn the key switch off, and remove the key. The weight of a load is always concentrated at its center of gravity. When you want to pick up a load, support it directly under its center of gravity. Uneven loads may cause the center of gravity to shift far enough to upset the load or tip the truck over. Make sure to lift loads that are evenly distributed on the forks. Always use caution when you maneuver with the load elevated. The truck is less stable, and a bump in the floor could shift the center of gravity far enough to tip the truck over. Turn slowly, especially when your truck is loaded. Centrifugal force will tend to pull the center of gravity to the outside of a turn. The faster or sharper you turn, the stronger the force. Avoid quick starts and stop only as quickly as conditions demand. Never exceed the rated capacity of the truck. Remember that overloading the truck can cause the truck to tip or the load to fall. Always check the truck's specification plate for maximum load weight and load center information. Keep in mind that if the center of the load increases, the rated capacity of the truck decreases. Remember to only lift secure loads. Spread the forks as far apart as possible and insert them all the way under the load. For safe operation when traveling, always keep the load as low as possible. Always look in the direction of travel, and when the load interferes with your view, travel with the load trailing. Don't make the mistake of traveling with the load elevated. Never allow anyone to stand or walk under any elevated part of the truck. Finally, never make sudden starts or quick turns, especially with the load elevated. Loading docks also have special safety rules. The trailer being loaded and unloaded should be aligned, the brakes set, and the wheels chalked. Make sure the dockboard is in place and secure. And check the condition of the trailer floor before entering with your truck. Slow down and use caution when traveling on rough, wet, or slippery surfaces. In the event of a tip-over or off-dock accident, you should step off and away from the truck quickly and onto the dock. It is safer than remaining on the truck in this situation. When working on a ramp, drive a loaded truck down a ramp with the load trailing and up the ramp with the load in front. When going up or down a ramp with the unloaded truck, keep the forks downgrade and travel at a reduced speed. Never turn or park on a ramp. Only trained and authorized personnel should change and charge batteries. Remember to follow the battery manufacturer's recommendations. When working with batteries, always set the brakes and remove the key. Make sure the charger and the battery are the same voltage before charging the battery. Make sure the battery gates are in place after charging or changing a battery. Use the proper equipment to remove or install the battery. Never lay metal objects on top of a battery. Always use a flashlight to check the electrolyte level. Never use a match or any other open flame. Adequate ventilation is also important when charging. The battery cap should be in place and the vent holes open when charging. Make sure you wear the required safety equipment. Immediately flush with cold water any battery acid that comes into contact with skin. Know where the nearest eye wash station is in case of an emergency. Use an acid neutralizer or baking soda in the event of a spill. By following some basic safety guidelines, you can do a safe and productive job for your company and go a long way toward avoiding accidents with your lift truck. All it takes is a moment of carelessness. Information is available to answer your questions on the function, maintenance, and safe operation of every Raymond industrial lift truck. Unfortunately, some don't or won't practice safety first when operating a lift truck. Why gamble on safety?